We had 900 rope climbs left, and my hands got into a point where they were so bloodied, and so swollen, we couldn't get the gloves off. So we were just adding more and more layers of duct tape around the leather gloves because they were tearing. And then I'm trying to eat, but I was in so much pain, I was puking every time I ate. When 900 rope climbs are staring at your face, and it's like, well, I can get it up once, and then you do the math of okay, I'm doing 2 rope climbs about every 70 seconds, and I have 900 left. I'm here for another 8 hours.
Welcome to the Infinite Grit Podcast. This is the show for those preparing to earn their place in special operations and other elite tactical careers. We break down the training, mindset, and strategies required to get selected and continue performing long term. These are proven principles to help you build the body, the mind, and resilience to step into the fight.
Welcome to the show, man. Been keeping up with your endeavors lately, and it's very impressive, all of the work that you put into it and everything that you have done. So real quick, who are you and what do you do?
For this guy, I'm the man behind the camera and an editor, but on the other side, I am an endurance athlete and a CrossFit Level 2 coach.
And what did you just do recently?
I just pulled a truck for 31 miles to bring awareness to veteran suicide prevention.
Hell yeah. That's absolutely insane. And technically, it was the world's heaviest ultra, correct?
Correct.
Which it ended up being, so it was a Toyota Tacoma.
Yep.
Weighing how much?
4,400 pounds plus the little extra accessories from the roof rack and the metal bumper. So
For 31 miles.
For 31 miles.
And it was in the cause of helping and preventing veteran suicide, correct?
Correct.
What did you guys end up doing with it?
We worked with Mission 22, which is a nonprofit in the veteran suicide and PTSD space, and we were able to raise $13,000.
13?
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome, man.
So,
well, I definitely want to dive into all of the events that you've been doing, why it matters so much for veteran suicide, and the impact you have had on that space, which I respect very much. But kind of want to go back into the origins of it, have you share your story a little bit. So where are you from, and what did your upbringing kind of look like?
I'm from Lake Tahoe, Nevada, so a small town called Incline Village. And
Incline Village?
Incline Village.
Okay.
So it's on an incline. And there's a village there.
Nice.
So.
All right,
pretty fitting.
Sorry.
No, pretty fitting name. But super small town, so kind of sports growing up. It's in the middle of the mountains, so skiing was massive. My dad was a professional skier, so I grew up skiing and ski racing competitively until I was a freshman in high school, when I decided to switch, kind of ditch the sport I was good at to go play basketball and football.
So your dad was a professional skier?
Yep.
Did he ski in the Olympics or anything like that?
So he skied in X Games is the main one.
No way.
Yeah, so he was in the X Games, and then he was big into there's the World Ski Patrol / coaches race or something. I don't remember. He would tell me stories when I was little, and I didn't care because he wouldn't let me play video games or something like that. But he was just talking about them. So yeah, he was a professional skier, so got me on skis legitimately before I could walk, would hold me up on skis. I had my first lift pass before I was 1 year old, insane kind of things.
Did you ever compete in skiing?
Yeah, so I competed in skiing in junior nationals and junior stuff all the way up until I was 12 or 13, and then, like I said, all my friends were playing basketball. Not a lot of them were skiing, and so I looked at them and I was like, I don't want to ski anymore. I want to go play basketball because that's what all my friends were doing.
Yeah. Was he pissed?
Yeah. I think any dad has their aspirations, especially for sports. It's if I have a boy, I'm going to make him what I couldn't finish doing. And so I think my dad did have that aspiration of for the Olympics, especially I'm going to get him to be a good enough ski racer that he can go to the Olympics. And then it's he sees me going out and winning a lot of the races. It helps when your dad is a professional skier.
Yeah, 100%.
And also coaches. And so it's all I knew how to do. And then I was yeah, but 2 of my friends ski, 15 of them play basketball. I suck at recess. I'm tired of getting bullied for not playing basketball. So I'm going to go play basketball.
Yeah. It'd be like Archie Manning, Peyton Manning's son, being like, nah, I don't want to play football.
Exactly. So, yeah, left skiing to play football and basketball, and like I grew up in a very small town, so our high school in total had 300 kids, and so it's like any sport you wanted to play, you could play because they needed to fit that 12 or 15 man roster on it, and so it was like I was playing varsity basketball like as a junior, easily like accepted, and half my games my sophomore year were on JV, half were on varsity, just because it's like, oh, 2 kids didn't make grades, still need to fill that team, let's pull them up from JV. And so that was the way life was up there. And so it was taking a balance on it. It was like great that I get to play whatever sports I was able to, but it never kind of shows you what you're naturally gifted for.
Right.
And,
which was skiing.
which none of my friends really did. So I was like, I'm not going to go do that.
Do you, so since you were young, before you could even walk, were you always kind of attracted to things that were more challenging?
Yeah, I think it's just like, especially when one of your parents was an athlete, like competitive nature just runs in the house. Like even when it's like playing Minecraft with my dad, it's like there's winning involved. And so that's like a nature that has just been developed into me. It's like, if you're doing things, you're doing them to win. And so it goes from anything from like the smallest little things to now it's like when I'm bartending with my girlfriend Maggie, it's like every other night I'm like, oh, well, whose tips were higher? And it's like, hers are always higher. But I'm like, but I beat you in sales. Like I always find that way of like, well, I had more checks than you. Sorry, you're just a girl and you get better tips. And it's like that competitive nature just runs from everything. And it stemmed since I was little, of like from video games to sports to now like my athletic feats to everything in everyday life.
Yeah. When did you start getting serious about training and doing these endurance events?
I started getting serious when I was a junior in high school about like training and preparing for things, of kind of that mindset. Like if you are going to go do something and you say you want to be the best in the world of it, like there's a work ethic that you think you know, and then what the reality is, it's 100 times more than that. And so that kind of got instilled in me when my dad finally was accepting of basketball, realizing I'm not going back to skiing. And he was like, okay, I'll stop annoying the kid to go ski. Like, let's help him keep playing basketball. And so it started off with like the 5 a.m. mornings, and we had a basketball like shooting machine that we'd go down to the high school at, and it's like get 1,000 shots up before anybody else is at school. And so repeating that over the years and how my goals have changed, of like, if you want to be the best in the world at something, you got to outwork everybody else in it. And so that kind of started as a junior and just has gotten worse and worse over time to now it's like, I know what work needs to be done if you're going to go out and try to do something crazy.
Yeah. Do you still play basketball?
No.
Come on, man.
Dude,
not even like a pickup game here and there?
No. With like competing in CrossFit and with the endurance challenges, I'll shoot around, but I don't like playing in pickup games. I broke my ankle 3 times in basketball throughout my high school career / like freshman in college. And so it's just the risk to reward ratio. I just would get furious at myself because I am competitive. I will dive for loose balls on the ground. I will take a charge. Like last time I played, we were playing on
a charge in a pickup game?
No, I took a charge in a pickup game on concrete. Like last time I was playing like a year and a half ago. And it's just because that's like what I was doing to win.
Yeah.
I'm a smaller guy. I'm 5'11", so it's like, okay, I need to, like when somebody's coming at you and they're 6'5", it's like got to take a charge before they dunk on you.
That's hilarious, man. So you grew up playing sports, moved out to Arizona, started getting into the endurance style events. How many of these events have you done so far?
So we have done 4 of the extreme endurance events. So we've done 72-mile farmer's carry around Lake Tahoe, 24 hours of tire flips with a 200-pound tire, rope climbed the equivalent height of Mount Everest in one day, and then did a 31-mile truck pull.
What do you think's been the hardest one?
The rope climb, without a doubt. Like
really?
You're fighting gravity. Like you have to do a pull-up 1 to 2 times every single time you climb that rope. All of your weight is held on those hands. And so muscular wise, it's just the hardest because you're dealing with a smaller muscle group. Like everyone thinks the truck pull is going to be the hardest, but like at the end of the day, you have your quads moving you, pretty big muscle group. Mm-hmm. You have all the legs, hamstrings, everything included. Where like rope climb, it's like a lot of biceps, a lot of forearms, like 2 very small muscles in the grand scheme of things, like holding all your body weight.
I feel like that's also kind of a hard one to train for.
It is, because like when you look at training for, say, a marathon or something, you can reasonably get up your mileage and not waste your entire day. Like, oh, I'm going to go run a half marathon today for my training. That's going to be, 2-3 hours or something. And it's like, you still can go have a life. Training for half of a rope climb thing is 13 hours. Like, not to mention your hands are going to rip. You're probably going to get some form of rhabdo just doing that. And so it's just hard to train for, because it's like, how do we train the volume, but also not put yourself out for the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's crazy. So the first one was the farmer's carry.
Correct.
And what got into you to just choose that one?
So my freshman year, when I was in college, COVID hit.
Okay.
And so got sent back home, was living with my mom, and I was doing Spartan races at the time, and Spartan had their death race, and they did a virtual one. And so I signed up on it on 12 hours notice, because I didn't see that it was going on. And then I was like, well, it's a Tuesday and I have literally nothing going on. I'm locked inside my house. All I got to do is join the Zoom call. And so that kind of started the whole thing. Get 17 hours into the event in my mother's house, and they're trying to make people be mentally tough. And they're like, well, part of the requirements was you needed a 5-gallon bucket. And so they had us fill up this 5-gallon bucket with water, and we were doing like deadlifts and like random other stuff with it. They finally just told us to dump the bucket onto our heads.
In the middle of the house?
And I looked at, and there's like maybe 20 people left at this point. Like 400 started, there's maybe 20 people left. And I just look at this guy, like we've ran 60 miles like in this time, like through Strava, like tracking it back, hundreds of push-ups, literally just like hell week condensed in a day through Zoom. So it like made no sense. Like they're just as much trying to figure out what to do as we are. And I just looked at him. I was like, I can't dump this bucket of water in my mom's house at 3 a.m. Like we just got new hardwood floors. Like she's going to kill me. And then they're like, we'll take your couch outside. I was like, I can't take my...
Oh, there's like a video so they can
so
see
it's
you
video.
doing it.
And they're like,
Got
we'll
it.
take the couch outside. And I'm like, I can't take my mom's couch outside at 3 a.m. Like, what do you not understand? They're like, well, how bad do you want it? And then I was like, okay, well, this is stupid. Like, I understand that you guys are trying to make everybody wet and cold, like the normal Spartan death races. But I was like, we're all inside. Like, I'm not old enough to own my mom's house. Like, if I was my own apartment, I would have dumped it on my head. But like, I'm not gonna have my mom come downstairs and be like, why is everything soaking wet? Because it's not like they were gonna give me time to, clean up the water right after.
Interesting.
And so, got dropped, kicked out of that. And so that kind of started the thing of like, okay, going down the rabbit hole of extreme endurance events. And so you have so much free time. I go on YouTube and I start learning about extreme endurance events like the running race Moab 240. And it's like guys running for 240 miles straight, maybe taking 2 or 3 naps for 8 minutes, 12 minutes. And it's like, wow, they do that in 3 days, 4 days. And it's like, that's insane. And then find this guy, Ross Edgley, who had just swam around England. So he swam 12 hours a day. He would do 6 on versus the current versus 6 on with the current. So depending on when the tides would change, so it's current, neutral current, swam for like 200 plus days around England.
That's crazy. That's insane.
And I was like, holy shit, human mind's crazy. Let's see what we can do. So that's kind of how the whole thing got started.
Yeah. The thing I like about your events too is they're unique. It's not just sign up for a marathon, sign up for this particular event. Like you make the event, which to me, I read the book, The Comfort Crisis, over this last year. And inside the Comfort Crisis, he talks about something called a Misogi event. And I know you and I have talked about them before, but a Misogi event is basically, it stems from a Japanese legend where a guy goes through a bunch of hardship. He goes to like the underworld and he comes out of the underworld and he goes into this cold water, and the cold water cleanses him of all of that evil, essentially. It gives him new life. And a Misogi event is designed to do that, to give you new life. And the rules of the Misogi event, which are made up, is it has to be a non-standard event, and you have to have no more than a 50% potential for success. And then rule number 3 is you can't die. So I think, and when I think of your events, those are essentially Misogi events, which is really cool. So the first one was the farmer carry for 72 miles. Then you did the tire flip. Then the rope climb, that was the worst one. And then the most recent, which was last week, was the pulling the truck for the ultra marathon.
Yeah.
At what point did you start thinking like, oh, I can also use this for good and help, positively impact veteran suicide?
Well, I think the point that like finding out I could do this for good is Ross Edgley was doing his for like marine wildlife when he swam around England. And so I forget what charity or like his talking points why, but when he talked about it, it's like, well, if you kind of have an extra driving factor to motivate you of like a good cause of why you were doing it, it's not just like I'm randomly going to go pull a truck for 31 miles.
Right.
Like that's an extra chip in your pocket that's like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, and so when it comes to like something as serious as veteran suicide prevention, it's like that's a pretty good tool to have in my back pocket of like, I'm doing this because I am trying to bring awareness to this problem. And so it's like having that be in my mind of like, I can't quit while I'm doing these things, because quitting is like the worst case scenario for me. It's like, I got to prove to myself and then prove to everybody else being like, oh, we can go do hard things that you don't even think are possible. It's just the easiest like pocket aces ever.
Yeah. Why specifically veteran suicide?
Kind of a longer story with that, but when I was going off to college a few weeks before, one of my friends unfortunately committed suicide, and I was with him the day before. And that day before, he was the happiest, most cheerful person ever. And like, you don't realize that so many people actually struggle with that. And that's the case for so many people that lose somebody to suicide, is they had no clue because that person seemed so happy on the outside, and it was just kind of a fake illusion to it. And so that made me really start thinking about mental health. And I struggled a lot with mental health from that, and of like having a purpose, having a why behind it, and started really learning about like how to be mentally strong, how to do mentally tough things. And then kind of on the back end, learning about like suicide and why people do feel like they need to commit suicide, and can make that rationalization to themselves, and kind of bridging the gap together. And so you start looking at the statistics on suicide and how much men are affected on it. And then you deep dive into it more, and it's like, oh, one of the most highly affected groups is veterans. And so the way I was raised was like, veterans are people who sacrifice their lives for the good of this country. And people sacrifice their fun, their freedom for you. And then when they come back, they sometimes feel like they're not appreciated, they're not wanted, they don't have everything that they feel like they should be getting coming back, that are just basic like human decencies. And it's like, okay, well, why is that happening? And that's why I've tried to do these events for that, is so that we don't have that problem of veterans being that highly affected group of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's a tough situation. Obviously, like going throughout the GWAT, the 20 years that, we spent in combat, it's, and the increase in the injuries associated with it, the traumatic brain injuries, which does lead to higher rates of mental illnesses or rates of suicide. Like, those are all impactful. But I think, at least in my experience, it's the transition that gets a lot of guys, because two reasons. Number one is you're in this environment where you have a big goal, you have a clear mission, you have a task, you're surrounded with like-minded individuals, you're in a team, you leave the military and it all kind of just fades away overnight. And then you're on your own and you're in that environment. And then the second aspect of it is, I think, and I was talking about this with one of our coaches, CJ, recently, when you're in the military, you can go on a deployment, you can go see crazy stuff, you can have all of those traumatic experiences, and then you come back and you jump right into the next task. You go right into training. You might get 2 weeks off to have some leave, go travel, have some fun, whatever, but you're back into training. So because you're just going to the next thing, you're always compartmentalizing it. I think what happens, at least what I experience, is once you get out of the military and that dust settles, then you have the time to start processing that stuff, and it comes back up, and all of the stuff that you've been just shoving in a box starts to come out. So veteran suicide, I think, is near and dear to my heart, and helping guys like that. And I think it's really cool that you're doing these events and raising not only money, but awareness and the conversations that stem from it, to get more people talking about these types of things. And it really, the end goal is to reach those guys who are going through it and make them know that they're not alone going through that process. So, out of all of the the events that you have done, what specifically have they been used to kind of support?
So the first one I did was with a nonprofit named FitUps Foundation, and what they did was they got people jobs in the kind of fitness/wellness space. And so they got people jobs from anywhere from like marketing jobs in with like Nike to just personal training jobs. And the way they did that was they would hold kind of like group summits where they would bring people in from like the local city or the local area, wherever they would hold it, that were veterans that wanted to be like in this space trying to look for a job. And so what it did, it was two things. Is one, it gave people in that town friends in the community. And so that is just a massive impact. Like, we'll deep dive into the community aspect for the mind, but that was great. And then two, they just helped people get jobs in the fitness space that was that transfer over to something that was near and dear to their heart. The second one we did was with Wounded Warrior Project. And so the biggest nonprofit there is for veterans, and just kind of helping people with disabilities and all of that going with it. And then this third one was for men's mental health awareness in general. So we did it last year during Men's Mental Health Month, and so wanted to bring a big point across to like so many men struggle with suicide. Mm-hmm. And then now this final one was with Mission 22. And so they're a nonprofit that does kind of holistic healing. So they do a lot of teaching and bringing people together, of showing like meditation and kind of healthy coping skills. And then also at the same time, they have one of the biggest ambassador groups of veterans in the country. And so they have ambassadors all across the country that is used to bring community together. And so it's like you reach out to them, and then they have this option of like, hey, you want to go get a workout in on Saturday? Like, we have another veteran that is going to go do a ruck over at, South Mountain or something. And so it brings that community aspect together to keep people having that group and that calmness state of mind.
Yeah, I love that. That's super cool, man. Well, I commend you for doing the events in general and using it to, for a good cause. And I hope that it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and those events that you keep doing are awesome. So I want to dive into the events themselves a little bit, because I think there's a lot of value out of putting yourself through something so challenging. So you talked about the rope climb being the most challenging one, and then I want to get into the most recent one as well. With the rope climb, was there ever a time where you're like, dude, I might not finish this?
Yeah, so we put down big crash mats underneath the rope. And so when coming down from the rope, that's probably the most strenuous time on the biceps. And so kind of the rule of thumb is like, if I slipped, just fall. Like, we don't want me slipping and then catching onto that rope and that bringing the bicep into that full extension, because we're worried about it tearing the bicep. It's easy to say that's the game plan, and then you're 15 feet on a rope and you slip and you don't just do what you're used to doing. Mm-hmm. And I grabbed onto the rope and did exactly what we were worried about doing, and so I got a partial tear in my bicep.
And how many rope climbs were you in at that point, roughly?
Like 700.
And you had what, 1,400 left to go?
We had like 1,400 left to go. And so we were climbing up to 15 to 17 feet. So the way we did this rope was we basically sectioned off a 12 foot, a 15 foot, and then a 17 foot was the ceiling on it. And so the game plan was to do as many 15 feet rope climbs as possible, because that's typically like standard height of CrossFit. And I know I can jump up and do that in like 2 poles. But we also didn't want to waste, if I only climbed to 12 and then, I slip, it's like I still climbed 12 feet. Yeah. And so we were talking about it, and it was like at 12 feet, I could touch the top and then just drop straight to the ground, which was a little bit nicer on the bicep. So we had to make that kind of switch on the fly. It was like I wasn't comfortable falling from 15 feet every single time. So we did it to 12, which then landing on a crash mat 1,400 times from 12 feet.
Oh my gosh.
The ankles are destroyed. The hamstrings are destroyed from just like the stability thing. So it was definitely like when we got in there, it was kind of that mindset of like, this thing might be over and we're 700 climbs in. And I said I was going to do, 2,000 plus. And so it was just like taking the step back, getting some work done on the bicep, putting on like a bicep brace for it. And it was like, okay, let's see if we can get one more up. And then it's like, okay, we got another one up. And then it's like, okay, do 50 more. And then we came to the idea of like, dude, just drop from 12 feet. Like, your ankles aren't going to like it, but like if you can still, like, whatever keeps you going at this point. And so that's what the mentality switch was, like, just get up one more. And so with all these endurance things, like, you kind of learn about yourself, like when you're in that suck and it feels like the world's in front of you, like you kind of got to get a governor in your body of like one more click, one more go. And it's like, if I can do it just one more time, that will get you through the hard things. And so it's like, that 700th rep, we'll say, is like when it happened, it's like, okay, just get through 100 more, and then we know we can keep going. Like, if I can do 100 rope climbs, I can do as many as I need to do. Like, it's just that mindset shift of like, it is going to hurt, it is going to suck, but like, I did it once, let's go again.
Yeah. Was there like any negative self-talk when that happened? Like, oh, I'm going to have to drop out, I'm going to let these people down, anything like that? Or what were you kind of telling yourself?
1,000%. So I had two like massive like breakdowns on it. And so the first one was with the bicep one. And luckily that was early enough in where like mentally I wasn't exhausted yet. So like I still had a lot of my like calmness and brain power. I was like, okay, what do we do? Like, how do we fix this? Like, as an athlete and as a competitor, I'm not dropping out. It's like, okay, well, how can we fix this? And so that was very good. And then the second one came around 4 a.m. And so the worst part, if you've ever done any ultra run or anything through the night, is that kind of 4 a.m. mark before the sun comes back up, because you've been in the cold and darkness for so long that it feels like there is nothing coming from it. And so even though we were inside a lit gym, I can still see through the doors and see that it's dark. Like, it's the time when the least amount of people are there. And so I think we had 900 rope climbs left, and my hands got into a point where they were so bloodied, like, and so swollen, like we couldn't get the gloves off my hands. And so we were just adding more and more layers of duct tape around the leather gloves because they were tearing. And then I'm trying to eat, but I was in so much pain, I was puking every time I ate. So like anything that would go into me would come right out. And it was like when 900 rope climbs are staring at your face, and it's like, well, I can get it up once, and then you do the math of like, okay, I'm doing 2 rope climbs about every 70 seconds, and I have 900 left. Like, I'm here for another 8 hours. And every time I eat, I'm going to puke. And so it's like, had a massive breakdown, and it's crying and like not understanding like what to do. Like, I've already done 1,500 or 1,400 rope climbs, 1,300. And it's like, you've already done so much. Like, you're almost there, but you're not almost there at the same time. And so just having the people around me to be like, dude, your whole thing is if you can do one more, you can do 100 more. And if you can do 100 more, you can do 900 more. And so it was just like that breakdown, that quick reset, and being like, okay, how do I get my mind calm? Okay, what do we got to do? Like, let's go out, let's plan this, and let's go out and attack. And so that was probably the worst meltdown I've had on any event, but it was just the people around me being like, this is who you are, you can go do this. And so that was how we got through that one.
How do you think that experience in the rope climb shaped your mindset in the truck pull?
It just almost makes it unbreakable. Like, having that mindset of I can do more because I said I can do more, and having it be like, I am not physically limited by doing one more small rep. Who gives a shit about the million steps in front of you? Like, the truck pull, we took 85,000 steps that day. Like, which is
with 4,000 pounds behind you.
Yeah. And so it's like, I could do one more, I can do another one. And so when we started it, like, we got switched on the venue last minute. We had never seen the new place we were doing it at. We got really lucky that these former veterans were like, that's sick what we're doing. We own this runway. Like, come do it. And it's like, you think of a runway as flat, but it's like when you start putting a truck on it, it's like every quarter degree of angle matters. And so like the start of it, it's like I had all these people here that have watched me pull this truck and train all year long, and it's like a max effort sled pull to get this thing started, and they're all looking at you going like, this doesn't look like the past 8 months. Like, what the hell is going on? Like when people are going to my dad, who has never been in the truck, to steer it, going, it's in neutral, right? And it's like, my dad's not an idiot. Like, of course it's in neutral. And it's just like full almost panic and breakdown, because it's like I have 30 people there. I have 2 YouTubers that I've been watching ever since I like started CrossFit there to come document this event. And it's so cool. And then it's like I'm sitting there as an athlete being like, oh fuck, like those 12 steps were the hardest 12 steps I've ever done in training, like even like. And it's like, but at least one foot's getting in front of another. And it's like, if I would have looked at that and been like, okay, I have 90 or 899, like, so however many steps left, it's like, you just have a panic and breakdown. But if you just break it into like, okay, I can still keep moving. I'm still making progress. Like every step that truck is moving, if I just keep it moving, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a time during the truck pull that you had kind of that similar emotional breakdown that you did during the rope climb?
No, I had like one, I called it a breakdown. Nobody else called it a breakdown. Maggie, my girlfriend, she was in charge of nutrition. So she gets the worst job in the world because she is telling a angry, pissed off Parker who was pulling a truck uphill, hey dude, you got to eat. And so she packed every form of variety, just of like, oh, you want carbs? Like here's an Oreo, or here's grapes, like just completely opposite ends of it, and had every food in between. And so the only one I had was on one of this harder parts, and I'm again 5 hours into this, and it is just like lunging my body forward, just trying to get this thing to like inch up this small little section. And she was like, hey, you haven't eaten in 30 minutes. I need you to eat. And she has a cup of mashed potatoes. And like the way the harness is set up, it's like pulling over my stomach a little bit when I'm fully hinged over. And I was just like, do you think I can fucking eat right now? Like I'm pulling out the max exertion. And it lasted like, I like said like another thing about like pay attention to what I'm doing or something like that. And then I like realized it's like, okay, that is helping nobody. She is literally here, isn't going to sleep the entire night, and is probably going to walk 31 miles with you. And it's all she's trying to do is make sure that you're fueled for the back half of this event. And so it was like taking that quick, deep thought and be like, I'm sorry. Like I will eat once we get to the turnaround point. Like, and so just having those positive mindsets instead of like always having that negative mindset goes so much farther, because like negative and hate is a really good fuel, but it's so quick burning. Like everybody says that like it can get you out of small things, but like if you're going to be doing an endurance event, especially like selection where it's weeks long, like you can't be angry the entire time. Like you need to find the reasons why you are grateful. And that's what I think the past 2 events I've done a very good job at compared to the first 2 events, is like, I'm not proving people wrong anymore. I'm grateful, and I'm so lucky to be in this position of pulling a truck on a random Wednesday in the middle of the desert to bring awareness to something I give a shit about, and having all my friends and family there. Like that's exactly where I wanted to be. Like I didn't show up to this truck pull being like, oh, this is going to be easy. It's like, no, we knew it was going to be hard. We knew there was going to be struggle, and now this is the struggle.
Yeah, man, you said something there powerful. Hate is a good motivator, but it's quick burning.
Yeah.
That's really good. And it's like, you know, we've talked about it, but like how important being grateful is in those endurance events, I think is way more powerful. And I talk to this about like my guys all the time, is you are going to experience that in selection. You know, like you talked about kind of the challenges that you had with it. You had 800 or 900 pull-ups left. You're going to be there for another 8 hours, having to do 2 every minute. And it just feels like the walls are closing in. Like, how am I going to do this? Anybody doing an endurance event, especially guys going to selection, you're going to feel that point. You're going to miss something out at land navigation. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to get lost, and you're going to feel like everything's over. But just being able to take that step and be grateful for a second, like, dude, this is exactly where I wanted to be 6 months ago. This is exactly where, and the event that I've been planning and promoting and doing all this stuff and generating hype and the conversations around like for, you know, a year now. So I think that's really cool that you brought up being grateful. Also, the the emotional regulation. Like it seems like kind of from an outsider perspective, the progression through you going through these events, you've become more and more emotionally stable in those stressful times. Like when things in the events start going bad, like obviously chirping or whatever, but I think that's like a very important aspect is being able to maintain that presence of mind.
And I think those only come by doing hard things. Like the presence of being like, I'm calm because I knew this is going to happen only comes from doing hard things like millions of times. All those small choices of like, I don't want to go to the gym today, but I'm going to go. Like training your mind to be okay with doing hard things is what's going to keep you calm once shit hits the fan. And like, I think if you look at like incredibly good endurance athletes, like everyone talks about like the power of a smile, like how it releases extra dopamine. I don't think they're thinking like, oh, I need to be happy right now because I'm doing this. It's like, no, there's that competitive drive in them that knew this shit was going to be hard. And like once they're smiling, that's because they knew they're at the exact point that all year or however long they've been training for, like they're smiling because they're finally, everything fucking hurts. Everything feels like it hits the wall, but that's exactly where we knew we were going to be. And that's exactly what we wanted to be. Like, you don't go out and do selection. You don't go out and do an Ironman. You don't go out and do whatever crazy thing you're trying to do, being like, oh, this is going to be easy. You're going out to go prove it to yourself. You're going out to go show how capable you are as a person mentally and physically are of doing hard things. And so I think that smile comes in, and being grateful goes hand in hand. It's like, you're so grateful that like you are exactly where you dreamed of being, and you chose something that unfortunately is going to be a little bit painful in the middle of it. So
yeah, like good, make it harder.
Yeah, that Jocko Willink like good video is exactly. Like it gets taken to the extremes, but it is at a certain point of like, if I pulled this truck and it just looked the easiest thing in the world, like that does me no good. Yeah. That gets me nothing. Like, but when it's like, oh, like that looks hard as shit, like that's exactly what starts the conversations. Like, yeah. And so for me, as somebody who's trying to start a conversation and bring awareness from it, like I'm glad it looked hard as shit. I'm glad it felt hard as shit. Like if I just came in there and smoked it, I would have been like, damn, should have done 100 miles, like right. Something like that. And same thing goes like for you guys, like you train so long and prepare so many hours and like are so nervous about going to selection. Like, how would you feel if you get there and they're like, okay, you need to tie these 12 knots and then run a 2-mile test. And if you get under 12 minutes, you're good to go. You're a Green Beret now. Like there would be no satisfaction in that.
Yeah. Well, you'll see guys quit. Quite a few guys will quit at selection during the first week. It's called gate week. Then you do like all your PT tests, but you only do one event per day. Mm-hmm. And then you have a bunch of downtime, but they don't let you sleep. You just stay awake and sit in the barracks. And when I went, there were multiple guys who I knew were studs, like more physically gifted than I am. And were crushing the events. Like, I know this guy is capable of doing it. And they quit. And they're like, I thought it would be something different. I thought it would be harder. Like they almost talked themselves out of it because they wanted more of a challenge, but that challenge had yet to come. So
that's so interesting to me. It's like you make that choice to like go do it, and then you like you understand it's like months long process. Like there's so much into going into becoming a Green Beret, and you're like, yeah, I'm sad they're keeping me awake, on the first 2 days, and I've only done one workout. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's gonna come somewhere.
That's what they say, though. You know what I mean? It could have been been a number of reasons that were going on in their head that nobody saw, but that was what they said, and I think it stems from that ego, like, oh, it's not hard enough for me. Like, I thought it would be different.
I'm gonna go to Bud's now.
Yeah, exactly. There's nobody screaming at me, like, and all that type of stuff. So I wanted to dive into your training a little bit for the truck pull specifically because it is similar to rucking, right? And you probably did quite a bit of rucking leading into it. So walk me through kind of what your training plan looked like the last 4 to 6 months leading up to it.
So when you do like these extreme endurance events that like are going to take 24 hours, it's not as simple as like taking a marathon approach and being like, oh, I'm going to slowly scale. I'm going to do a 5K, 10K, half marathon, and then like get my long run in. That's like 18 miles, which is like 75% of your marathon. And that takes 3 hours of your day.
Right.
Like when you start to prep for something that's going to be 24 hours long, like a week long, however long your endurance feed is you have to kind of break it out and try to get that volume over a week, over 2 weeks even on it. And so I compete in CrossFit, and on the competitive side of CrossFit, we do zone 2 training, unlike the class side of it. And so I was still competing in a comp this year in September, and so I had a lot of zone 2 that was programmed for me, and I was able to just switch them out for sled pulls. So for a lot of the early months of this, instead of being on a bike or running for my zone 2, I switched out with either dragging a sled or rucking, because I knew I could get similar heart rate like gains out of it, and then it's also sport specific, training my body for it. And then once that comp kind of ended, it was like, okay, everything is on truck pull. And so all year long I've been doing your pre-ab exercises for my calves, my Achilles, but once we got to that, it's like no more fucking around with CrossFit. Like, time is to get serious. We're doing 5 days a week of truck pull training, so of everything from like my typical heavy strength days to lighter days with like way higher volume than you would normally see, to like I'm now pulling a sled instead of 2 days a week, 5 days a week, just to kind of get that volume that we talked about. Like, I was pulling a truck for 31 miles. I can't go do 15 miles in one day, even though I've done that, but that took 9 hours of the day, and then I couldn't do anything for 5 days after because I was so sore from it. And so this kind of came to the approach of like, okay, let's build my 20-mile week. And so we're going to pull a sled 6 days this week for, about 3 miles, a little bit more. And then I get my volume that way over the week, and then hopefully build all that together so that on game day it works.
Yeah, dude, you just hit something on the nail. You hit a nail on the head so well that I often talk to our guys about. So there's going to be guys that are listening that want to do the same thing. I get questions all the time like, oh, I know I'm going to have to do a 12-mile ruck. I know I'm going to have to do the trek, which is a 26 to 30 unknown distance ruck. Why aren't I doing 12 and 15-mile rucks on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? And you just hit it, like, because you can do that event, but you're going to get so much stimulus that you're not going to be able to train for five days afterwards. It's like you have to train in a way to where you're getting the necessary amount of stimulus, but you're also allowing your body to make those adaptations and continue to train consistently to get better over time, versus just crushing yourself, not training, barely fighting to get back to baseline, crushing yourself, not training. So I think that's an awesome approach. So you were doing CrossFit up until about 2 months out in addition to your plan?
And so still doing CrossFit. Like, we had, the way my structure works is like a cardio session, a strength session, and then like a fun session, which is the Metcon, so the typical CrossFit format for it. And so for the strength session, it was like, as the year kind of ramped closer to it, it was more specific to the truck pull. So like a lot of the start of the year, it was a lot of the upper body pressing and just working on that kind of CrossFit stuff. But as we got closer to it, it switched more to the truck pull training alongside of CrossFit. So instead of just doing, back squats like 5x5 for heavy or something like that, we're now going to be working in the 15 rep range, the 20 rep range, just because we knew that we're going to need that extra endurance going into it. And so just kind of being aware of your programming and like knowing what it's kind of doing. And so it's like, I'm a coach, I program for our gym, but it's like, I also know, like, if I program for myself, even if I'm the most mentally tough person in the world, I'm still going to program to my strong suits. Like, It just happens. Like, I know that, like, I am good at wall balls, but I'll still somehow always have them every week if I program for myself. And it's like, so having somebody that you have programmed for you is very good, because it kind of shows you that self-reflection. And then also having just that like open dialogue with them of like, hey, this is what my goal is. Like, we need to train for that. And so that was very transparent all year long. Was like, my 2 goals were Southern California Wadapalooza CrossFit comp, and then the truck pull. And so it was like, okay, how do we structure both of those, even though they're so drastically different, to hitting that end goal? And so that's kind of what we did. Was like, front half of the year was a lot of upper body focus, kind of trying to make that my strong suit. And then the second half of the year, when we got closer to the truck pull, is really nailing down the legs and making sure that my legs were ready. So a lot of those, like we said, the zone 2s all turned into sled pulls and rucking. The cardio sessions turned into a lot of just kind of faster timed rucks. So like, instead of like doing running, because we kind of knew there wasn't going to be any like sprint work or anything like that, we kind of knew it was going to be the longer distance. It's like, okay, we're just going to do some rucks. So like, just having, maybe just a 15-pound, 20-pound weight vest on is still going to get that like trap stimulation and lower back that's going to be similar to the truck pull.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think CrossFit and the background you have in CrossFit helped you for these endurance events?
Um, I think the constantly varied part helps. Like with me as training as an athlete, like I'm a very ADHD athlete. Like I can't be doing the same thing over and over, even though I know that's what like makes the gains.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for me, training for this truck pull, like my 2 2 hour sessions a week of pulling the sled, like that is monotonous. That is quite a bit. But like if I was programming somebody for just the truck pull, I would have been like, okay, we're doing that 4 days a week. Like understanding like we need that much stimulus of that boring work. But the CrossFit side of it definitely helps because it keeps me in just a level of fitness and shape that I can go out and do these things. Like, and I think that's the best advantage behind it is like, at least with CrossFit, like I'm getting my heart rate up every single day. Like when I just go lift some days, like if I'm not doing CrossFit, like I'll only lift and then I don't really get any like metabolic gains out of that. Like, yeah, I'm getting stronger and stuff, but like I'm not the type of guy that's going to go hop on the Stairmaster or go run on the treadmill like after I lift. Like I'm doing one or the other. So that's why I like CrossFit because I get that VO2 max up and I get that overall fitness higher, which then at the end of the day will transfer over to these events because it's like a base level of fitness is required for all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I shit on CrossFit, it has a place. You know, I like CrossFit, kind of like, you know, we've talked about it in the past too. I got out of the military and I was kind of lacking that community. Didn't really, you know, I moved to a new state. So like all my friends were back, in Colorado or different states. And I didn't really have anybody here but my wife. You know, I joined a CrossFit gym and that was like one of the best things that I did. So community aspect is really big, but also like getting that experience of training CrossFit, which had been kind of like the first time in my entire life in training history that I've really focused on CrossFit. I developed a little bit more appreciation for it. I still don't think it's the best thing for guys to do in selection prep. And, you know, we can debate why on another podcast, which would be fun. But, I do think there are a lot of positive aspects to it. And I think it shows, you know, you can't argue with the results of like you coming from a background of competing in CrossFit, have good strength numbers, and then still go and crush these endurance events. Like you can't just negate that CrossFit is completely worthless.
Well, and I think the biggest point that like you hit hard there is like when we talk about like the mental health side of it is the community. And so like you said, you got out and it's like, and that's the case for 90% of veterans is like, probably 99% at the end of the day is like they have their core group of friends that are in the military, and then when it's time for you to make that decision to, you know, leave the military, like you're leaving that group of friends and then you kind of get sent back to where you're from or wherever home is now for you outside of the military, and you don't have that community and that friend group for it. And the hardest part with mental health that a lot of people struggle with is feeling that alone sense. And so for me, it's like on my day-to-day basis for training, like if we look at CrossFit's like original methodology, I am not doing CrossFit training. I am breaking down. I am doing Olympic lifting in the morning. Like I am doing strength conditioning, and most of the, or like typical strength conditioning bias to a normal conditioning bias. Like if I want to get better at the rower, like I will just only row. Like I am not going to do rowing and pull-ups or something,
Right.
which is what CrossFit would say to do. And so I have that approach back from it. But the best part of CrossFit is that community sense. And so that's the part that I love as a coach, even though I disagree with a lot of things like kipping pull-ups and that kind of stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, the one thing you can't argue that CrossFit does the best out of any gym culture there is the community aspect and keeping people, one, accountable, two, have friends, and three, social. Like a social aspect every single day for humans is absolutely like massive. Like I don't go to an EOS very often, but when I do, it's like people aren't coming up to me and going, how's your day? And like even that, just that from a coach can have somebody's mindset shift so much. Like even if I'm having a shitty day and somebody comes up to me and it's like, oh, how's your day? Like I'm going to say, oh, it's going good. But it's like just enough to be like, oh, okay, maybe my day is going better than I thought my shitty day was going.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the biggest part that CrossFit absolutely is the best there is at it, is the community aspect.
I would agree. I go to the gym every morning, see the same 10 people, and I've talked to like 3 of them. So,
Like,
you know what I mean? Like in CrossFit, you get to know everybody and you guys have like barbecues and stuff like that. So I definitely agree that CrossFit takes a cake when it comes to community.
And it's like funny as a coach, like I coach our biggest class of the day, and like we have 11 squat racks, but say 24 people show up. I'm like, sucks guys, y'all got to be friends today. Like talk to each other. Like you don't know that person. Congrats. My name is this, and it's like so funny because like when you're kids, a lot of the time your parents make your friends for you, and then if you're lucky enough, like I was, like those are still my roommates from when I was 3 years old. So I got really lucky with that. But then now you look at me half the time and it's like, oh, you got to go make a friend. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I didn't make my friends. Like, but that's what's nice about the CrossFit space is it forces me, like, and people I call my friends nowadays, like I would have never gone up and talked to, but unfortunately for me, they're now my friends because I had to go coach them. And then it's like, oh, you're kind of cool. Like, I learned that about you. Like, oh my God, we have these two like similarities. Like, we do question of the day every day, and the goal isn't to be like, oh, like an icebreaker for the room, but it's like, okay, what if it's like, I don't know that person's name, and okay, now I know it, and then it's like, oh, we both like the Lakers, like even though we both live in Arizona, and everybody else likes the Suns, like at least we got that in common. We can talk about that.
So you're a Lakers fan?
I'm not a Lakers fan.
Oh, okay. No, that's awesome though. I 100% agree. So what's on the horizon for Parker? What's the next event that you have planned?
I've gotten inspired. Ironman Arizona just happened 2 days ago, and
It was the last one, correct?
yeah, which I'm pissed about. So I convinced all my friends that it would be really cool for us to do an Ironman, and I understand that 1 month isn't enough time to train for Ironman Arizona. So I was like, I got 4 of them to agree from it. None of them really work out. They all kind of run, but like it's literally just they're all nerds. It's just literally for basic health, like is what they do. And so I got all of them to agree. It was one of my buddies got married, so that was our wedding present to him, was paying for his entry fee.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so we're like, perfect. It'll be a good way to get all of us back in Arizona, like to do this. 3 days later, they come out once I get all of them to agree that it's going to be the last year for Ironman Arizona. So we're still going to do it. I'm holding them all accountable, but I think we're going to go to Panama City, Florida.
Nice.
That's the next flattest one.
Okay.
Yeah, Arizona was also the easiest Ironman course there is in America.
Because it was so flat?
Because it was so flat. And then now we don't have that. So, long story short, I want to train for an Ironman. I think it's so cool. It's such a hard feat that, a lot of people do. A lot of my realm is by myself and nobody's ever done it before. And I kind of like that because I get to set the boundaries and kind of have no guidelines going into it. But there is still part of me that does like kind of the Spartan races and stuff of like, okay, here's 1,000 dudes that are all suffering. Like, let's go out and go do that together. All with that same goal that we all know took so long to train. Like, I think that's the coolest part about the Ironman is like, you can't just show up and have natural athleticism get you through a 2.4 mile swim, 112 bike, and no marathon.
Not a chance.
No natural athlete is getting through that. Like, right. And so that's what's so cool is like, everybody there is full confident that they've done at least a year of training to go out and go do it.
What does your plan look like for that?
So having to definitely add in a lot of monotonous work that I don't like. So a lot of just long bikes, swims, getting comfortable in the water. I'm not super comfortable in the water swimming. It's something I'm working on, but I can barely swim like 300 meters right now without taking a breath. And I don't know the exact conversion, but I know 2.4 miles without holding on to a pool sideline, especially going to be in the ocean. Like, that's a big way to go. So doing that, but then also like I still have a love for competing in CrossFit. Like, I don't think that is something that I will ever like lose. It's kind of same mindset as like everybody out there, chosen suffering, like competing at like the RX level, like one of the higher levels, like, that everybody else on that floor has been working their ass off. So that's just a fun thing that I love doing.
Yeah, 100%. So are you going to continue competing in CrossFit, adding in more long distance work and some swimming this upcoming year? I'm going to see if it's possible.
Okay. It's kind of a balance, and a lot of people have explained this like better than me, but it's like you have your work, you have your hobby, and then you have your family life. And whenever you throw in a bunch of volume on 2 of the sides, the one drops way down below. And so I struggle with that a lot. And then unfortunately for Maggie, a lot of the time she gets the shit end of the stick, and it's like, well, I can't like sleep in with you on Saturday morning because I'm gonna go do a long run or bike or something. And so the goal is to try to keep all three in, because like I'm a bartender. I work 2 days a week. That's barely considered work. So it's really just like CrossFit, now going to be Ironman, and then family life. And so trying to keep all three balanced. But I know at like probably 4 or 5 months out, CrossFit's going to be non-existent in that training, because I'm competitive at the end of the day. Like, and I want to go out and do an Ironman to an acceptable time of what I think other athletes do.
Do you have any ideas for a future non-standard event like the truck pull that you're going to do?
So I've thought of everything like kind of crazy. Like you look at my past 4 events and it's like farmer scary, that's random as shit. Tire flip, random as shit. Rope climb Everest is like, I think the most reasonable one. Like how many times can you climb a rope? Almost like in 24 hours. And then the last one was the truck pull. So all very random, but I think the next ones I want to do, I think it's kind of cool with High Rocks of how big they are. If I can get High Rocks involved in doing something like for mental health, like, because I know they're a Europe-based company, so they probably wouldn't do veterans, American veterans, but who knows? They're so big over here now too. They might do something with that. I think like 24 hours of High Rocks would be cool, just going on like during one of their weekend events, like starting, the Saturday morning and just running the course until Sunday morning, like, while everybody else is going. While everybody else is going, I was like, that could bring a lot of awareness, and that's what I care about at the end of the day. I've looked at the world record for muscle ups in 24 hours. So that would be like cool. I'm just trying to think of like my strong suits in CrossFit. That's about it. I looked at like the rucking record, and some dude rucked 84 miles in 24 hours with 40 pounds on his back. And I was like, that's pretty untouchable.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Are you going to turn it into like a group thing, or are you going to keep those ones solo? What do you want? What's like the plans for it in the future?
It's hard because as an individual, I have full control and responsibility of my actions. And that is why I love individual sport. If I go out on the floor and I suck, it is on me. There is nobody else to blame. And I've gotten away from that team sport on it. And so with stuff this crazy, it's hard finding people that it's like I can not necessarily trust, but like at the end of the day, trust me, like I've worked this hard for it. Like I need you right alongside me. Yeah. And so there's one guy that I do want to reach out to, because I just saw he did it on Veterans Day. He's below the waist amputee. It might be below the knee, but I know he's in a wheelchair. His name's Mike Egan in the CrossFit space, but he's a former veteran. So on Veterans Day, he did the farthest distance traveled in a wheelchair.
No way.
And he went like 154 miles in a wheelchair.
That's
on
awesome.
Veterans Day. And so like my event happened a few days prior to Veterans Day. And so I have everybody because he's also in the CrossFit space, being like, do you know this guy? Like, you two need to do something together. And so I'll probably reach out to him and try to find something that we both can co-collaborate on, because he's also done that extreme endurance stuff. So that's kind of easier to choose when it's like, oh, you already know that dude's an absolute savage. Like, you both have done things, and then combining that together, then being like convincing one of my random friends, being like, okay, you've never done anything like this. Because I wouldn't want to partner with myself when I did my first event. I was irresponsible. I didn't do a lot of the training that I should have been doing.
Yeah, fair enough. I've been there as well.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. I think that's what you're doing is freaking awesome. Doing it for a great purpose. And I wanted to ask you one more question. So if a veteran or anyone listening who is going through that really dark place right now, and hasn't told anyone, they've just been quiet suffering, when they see people, they're acting like everything is okay. What would you say to that person directly?
Find a community or find a goal. The goal will make you wake up every day and go out and try to accomplish a task. So like, I'm just going to say this, like if you have never been a big runner, book whatever marathon is in 6 months, 8 months, just book it on the calendar. Like figure out all the logistics later, figure out whatever one, maybe even do it to a vacation destination so you get a double benefit of it. Like finding something that makes you or that forces you to wake up every single day and go out and put one foot in the front of the other and go train for something is perfect. Like that is the best way mentally that you can just keep moving. Because at the end of the day, like momentum is the number one thing on your side. Like once you get all those chips stacking and rolling, life is easy. Like once you keep moving, but the second everything slows down, like getting pulled, like leaving the military and everything slows down, it's like, oh shit, like I don't know what to do now. Like find that goal, find out what to do. And the second one is like, it's so hard for every single person to go up to even your closest friends or family and say, I am struggling.
Yeah.
And like, I personally have struggled so much with even doing that in the past. Like I struggled to talk even after the rope climb when I was facing like small bits of depression because everything slowed down for me to even talk to my girlfriend who just watched me do all that stuff for the mental health. And so it's like finding a community where, again, you just have those people around you and you see the positives and they ask you how your day's going, to then maybe find the right person that you can open up with or have that community. And it's like, if you have enough people looking at you and they notice this, like that you might not be taking care of yourself, somebody's going to point it out and say something. And if that's just enough to open the door to talk to somebody, like go out and do it. And I know for both of us right now, like reach out to me on Instagram, reach out to John, like both of us will happily talk to you guys knowing nothing about you. And like, that is the easiest thing like you can do. If you have to reach out to somebody random, like go ahead, do it, like talk to anybody. But those are my two things: is put a goal on the calendar, get yourself moving, and two, just find a community to be around that's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah. And I would add to that, like when you go to talk to people like that, like definitely bring people, like open up to people. I think especially as dudes, we can have this like natural protection of our ego. But when you open up to people, one, you find out people are a lot more accepting of it than you think in your mind. And you find out people are experiencing the very similar things. So you're not alone in that endeavor. So really appreciate you coming on, man. How can people find you? How can people get involved with what you're doing?
I'm on Instagram. It's at pfonno, which is PFONN and then 3 A's. So Instagram's probably the main source of it. And then in my bio, there's the links to everything I've done. The donation page for the World Toughest Ultra is still going up through the end of the year. And so that's all there.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate you. You guys heard the man. Go give him a follow on Instagram. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.